We're good.
Boker, Boker Tov, and good morning. I'm Rabbi Steve Moskowitz from Congregation Lador Vador here on Long Island, and this is Monday Musings, not to be confused with Monday Morning Musings, a widely viewed show in metropolitan Detroit with Rabbi Michael Moskowitz of Temple Shir Shalom, who is my guest this morning, or am I his guest on his show? It's very confusing, but we thought we would do a combined show this morning. First of all, this represents a year of Monday Musings for me. I want to thank my brother Michael for the idea. He started it about a month before and had me as a guest. And I was like, this is such a cool idea. And we thought we would do it this morning because then we could both wish our mom happy Mother's Day together, and our parents wouldn't have to watch competing shows this morning. So we know we have at least two people watching our show this morning. We're so grateful to Marsha and Carl Moskowitz for joining us at 8 a.m. in St. Louis for Monday Morning Musings and Monday Musings. So Mike, you want to say anything?
Welcome to Monday Morning Musings. Chance to begin our week, our day, with a little kickstart, a little spiritual reflection, a little time to set a tone and perspective for the rest of our week. And today, my guest is Rabbi Stephen Hennison Moskowitz from Congregation Lador Vador in Long Island, New York. And of course, Oyster Bay. And it's great that we could be here together. And yes, Steve and I like teaching together, sharing together. I've only had 3 individuals who've come back to Monday Morning Musings 3 times this year. And one is Pastor Ken Flowers, who was
in good company.
Anniversary. One is Rabbi Mike Moskowitz from the Scholar in Residence at Congregation Beit Simchat Torah on trans and LGBTQ studies, and my brother, Rabbi Stephen Moskowitz. It's awesome.
That's so exciting. And Mike, by the way, is going to be celebrating his 25th anniversary at Temple Shir Shalom. I think the anniversary celebration is 5 times rescheduled and 2 years late, correct?
Yes. We're hoping
we are still going to celebrate that occasion.
We're hoping we get it before 36. Goal.
All right, so let's talk a little bit as opposed to Mike and I just standing here and looking at each other and laughing. There you go. We thought that'd be entertaining. So, Mike, we were talking, you've been a rabbi for, is it 27 years now?
I'm beginning my 27th year. Yep.
All right. Rock on.
Yeah.
So
pretty cool.
How has your rabbinate changed? How have you changed?
I'm really fortunate to have been at Shir Shalom this entire time. So relationships and the depth of those relationships only get stronger and building upon that. So I never take that for granted. But I think, the reality that so many people that we're around have things to teach and to bring to us and open our eyes. And so, there's no doubt. I can't imagine what I was like as a rabbi in 1995.
Younger.
Naive. There was no more hair, but just unaware. And the perspective I have now and the appreciation is something I think that is daily a part of what I experience. So I think that reflection is really an important piece of my rabbinate now. I also try more.
So can I just ask you, can I push a little bit on that? Because I've also felt this. I've been at the synagogue for 22 years, so the depth of the relationship. So, I mean, how does that affect you personally in terms of officiating at life cycle events?
Yeah. It's, I have a wedding tomorrow, and the bride and groom tried to schedule the wedding a couple weeks ago, and I was going to be out of town visiting my children, Ellie and Nathan, and the groom said, "But you've known and loved us longer." Because this bride and groom went to Israel with me.
That's amazing.
They went to Israel with me as high school kids in 1998. I've known them since 8th grade. And so that kind of connection. And when we're under the chuppah tomorrow, it's going to be really a special experience, right?
Yeah.
And sharing in that. So that, and obviously the pain of loss too. It's really exhausting and difficult. And I will say this year, that's been something that's been, exacerbated because, we mourn the loss as well with families that we've known for so long. And, you're a hugger. Stephen is, and I am too. But that missing that and not having those personal connections and being physically together is really challenging.
Yeah, I have found that it's just they've been my losses, not to take away, of course, from the mourners, and because it's their family member, but it's been my friend as well, and
Yeah,
someone I feel close to. And sometimes I do sometimes worry though that I'm not able to be as present for people if it's also so much my loss. Do you
right.
feel that at all?
I do. I often will say to families, like, pretend I didn't know, your mom or your dad, because it's not my relationship that is being expressed at a funeral, right? Even though that sometimes will come through on some levels in the personal validation of those characteristics that I've too witnessed and experienced, the generosity, kindness, the love, the fun, whatever it was. So, but I always want to sort of push that aside first and just hear from them and have and a blank slate as they tell me their memories, their stories, their values of the individual we're reflecting upon. But I think it's difficult to do that, and but it's really important for us to remember that we're not the mourners, even though we feel that pain.
Right, but it is very affirming when you are able to reflect back something that they also know about their parent or about their loved one, like that
Yeah,
you also saw this and you also experienced this. It's a very powerful moment, I think, for us as well as for them, and
yeah,
especially for them.
yeah. I had an amazing wedding a couple summers ago, and this young man's mom's funeral I had done in 1999 when mom was 43 years old. And I didn't have a relationship with the family beforehand, but mom asked me to come visit her when she was sick, and she said, I want the rabbi on the bima at my son's bar mitzvah to have known me, so could talk about that. In my mind, she wasn't planning for a wedding, but somewhere that seed was planted, right? And to have had this relationship for all these years and to be able to talk about his mom with them under the chuppah and bring her in. Now they just had a baby, and the baby is named for that same woman, that same mom. All these connections, it's very affirming in life, even in the midst of the challenges we've experienced.
Right. So have you had the rabbinic hat trick yet? The done the done the baby naming, the bar bat mitzvah, and the wedding?
I have not married anyone who I named, right? So, because I'll only be
I'm
26.
waiting. I'm waiting. This poor girl, I've told her she's it. And she's like, "Eh, don't rush me." She just graduated from college. So, but that would be, right, the ultimate. I remember holding someone at their baby naming, and to be standing underneath the chuppah. I've
Yeah.
been crying along with parents at the wedding, because I remember, when they were little kids.
Don't you find that you end up getting more emotional when you're with families and they're the same life cycles that we're going through in our lives too,
Right.
right? So when your kids were going through B'nai Mitzvah or graduations or like that emotion, standing on the bima, or I would, try to be dad at our kids' graduations at Temple, but it was a really beautiful ceremony where they were on the bima. But with those parents who we've been through this together this whole time was really incredible.
It's an amazing feeling. So transitioning a little bit, we were talking a little bit about your advocacy for LGBTQ plus rights and being an ally. You wrote that beautiful piece in Mike Moskowitz's the other Mike Moskowitz's book. Now he's going to be a guest on my show as well. But so you
Excellent.
wrote that piece. His book is called Chaver Up, I think, right? Correct?
Yep. 49
So
rabbis reflect on allyship.
so you want to tell us a little bit more, teach us.
So, well, our relationship is unique because of our name and being mistaken. Well, me being mistaken for him on a number of occasions. I don't know if he's ever been mistaken for me yet. He's hoping, he
Right.
said. So we have, and a year ago, or 15 months ago, I reached out to him because of another mistaken identity, and we started talking and had this nice connection. And when I started this conversation, Monday Morning Musings, I asked him to help teach because he was coming out with another book at that point called Textual Activism, and he became a really great teacher for me as a ultra Orthodox rabbi who is this incredible advocate in the LGBTQ plus community, a straight man right? Married, children, and his own experience and expressing it so beautifully, and understanding from text, from Jewish tradition. So for me, as a progressive rabbi who, I did a wedding ceremony or a commitment ceremony, 1995, I think it
Why are
was.
you saying, why did you make that distinction, commitment
Because
ceremony?
it wasn't legally a wedding in 1995, right? It
Okay.
couldn't be a wedding. So as much as we wanted it to be, the state license didn't allow for that at the time. So, I did it back then, and it was a non-issue. Like, of course I would do that in 1995 or 96. When,
You didn't make any distinctions in terms of the Jewish ceremony, though, did you?
there are certain words that,
No, I'm saying in terms of like commitment ceremony versus wedding
Correct.
ceremony.
Correct. They Jewishly, in my mind, congregation's eyes, it was on the beam at temple, completely married couple, right? So, and it was very natural in that sense, and what I always believed and affirmed and wanted to be able to do. But what I've come to recognize from, again, how people teach me, from people in the LGBTQ plus community who've shared with me, no matter how open I've been, they've still felt as outsiders, right? And how much more can we do to welcome people in, to make that overtly clear how much everyone's a part of our community, no matter how you identify yourself.
So what are you doing specifically to address that?
From the simple of putting, he, him on my name, right? Like at first, I said, well, why do I have to do that? Everyone knows who I am, but it opens a door that says I'm aware, right? And it's an important thing to be able to recognize in that way. Two, to be able to talk about it, right? I was asked last year and a half, 2 years ago, for Pride Month to speak at an event, and initially they scheduled it on Friday night, right? And they wanted me to be the rabbi. I'm like, well, a rabbi is not going to be able to come on Friday night. And so I pushed them and said, listen, if you think this is important, then do it on a day when Jews will be able to come instead of go to services. And they did, they moved it. And so I was able to speak and be a part of it. And again, it was people coming up to me afterwards saying, wow, I didn't know a rabbi would do this. Now,
Right.
I have a lot of you would do it, right?
Right.
It's that making that push to be there, to be present, and to keep sharing that too. And, Rabbi Mike Moskowitz has taught me through his postings. And so me posting things that he does and sharing that is just, again, putting it out there. This is what I believe. This is what Shir Shalom should be doing. This is what we should be doing as a Jewish community.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to send that message that we are a welcoming community and we embrace everyone. And it's not, we might think sometimes that we're being welcoming, but it's not necessarily heard as such. There's all sorts of barriers that our institutions throw up inadvertently that right. I don't even think I'm fully aware of. I mean, just language alone.
Our board of directors, we have a small board of directors, right? 18 of us, but we're a straight Ashkenazic,
right.
white group.
Yeah, you don't even have Sephardic representation on
right. But no Jews of color. Right. And we have Jews of color in our congregation. Obviously, it's a very small minority, but it's an important message as well. So if we're really being inclusive, what else can we be doing? Right. No one who's in the LGBTQ community. So again, not a large population in our congregation, but still, what are the messages we send, and talking about that? So
I think owning that sort of awareness of like that you're saying that we're not as inclusive as we would like to be. We don't feel that we're at the ideal, and that we've realized the ideal of being fully welcoming. That would be an important piece. You're certainly aware of this. I years ago had a more conservative posture to some of these questions. I know it's a bit of a revelation, and I've come around to your view and your perspective, and I think what the correct perspective in terms of officiating at wedding ceremonies and also interfaith wedding ceremonies. But part of the reason why I changed was because I've been a rabbi for many years at the synagogue, and I realized I don't want to say no to my students who I love. I want to be there for them. I want to figure out as many opportunities to say yes and to affirm them. The last thing I want to say to the kids and the families that I love is no, I can't be there.
Right.
That was really the fundamental reason why I changed.
I mean, I think that idea in our faith, in Judaism, And it's not just a survival tactic, but finding ways to yes are so important for us, right? To be an open community. And because sometimes my nature is like, oh, can't do that. Like, doesn't make, but then why not? Right. And my wife, Leslie, will often push me on that. I'll say no to something and she's like, why?
Right.
And she's totally right. And we talk about it and I'm like, no, it's a really good, from the most simple practical thing to deeply spiritual things too.
I think part of it is when at least this is my own sort of evolution on the question, when you're a new rabbi and a young rabbi, you feel in some way like you're the gatekeeper. Like, okay, I've got to, like, I'm setting the sort of like who's in, who's out. And that's the last thing you really want to be doing, because that throws up all of those roadblocks that we were talking about beforehand.
Right.
And you really want to just try to figure out how do I kind of almost push the gate open as opposed to close the gates.
And I guess that's also the blessing, having a community behind us, as you and I both do, and being rabbis over 20 years in each of our synagogues and having that opportunity. We feel very comfortable, and we have boards who support us and create vision with us as well to that. So it's really a value in that deep relationship there too. So very much of a privilege to have that. And I know that's not what everyone has. It's not that we're not pushed in different directions, but still to know that we have the confidence to go forward because, these are our congregations.
Yeah, I do think part of it does come with, at least it for me, it came with years of being at the same synagogue and feeling a sense of security, and being at home and comfortable and just loving people, and that being the most important value. As opposed to, I have to be the one upholding this tradition or that verse. I'm going to hold the line on what the Torah says here or there. That's no longer as important as just loving people.
I like that. That's a good way to end our discussion, Steve.
Are we concluding?
I know. Well, no, we don't have to. We can keep talking, but the idea of loving people is so important. Well, I'd ask you. So, you're only 4 years ahead of me in the rabbinate. Stephen was ordained in 1991. So it's your 30th anniversary.
I know. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
In a couple of weeks, I will have been around by 30 years. Isn't that insane?
Yeah. Yeah. I think tomorrow is actually.
You see how much hair we had in that picture that I posted from your ordination?
So what's been, how your rabbinate's changed, and Stephen's bounced between different jobs. He started as teaching.
Wait, don't say balanced. It sounds like.
Stephen began as an educator at the Brofman Center for Adult Learning at the 92nd Street Y, Manhattan.
That's good.
So that was what, first 5-6 years.
8
years. It went so quickly though. And then landed in Brookville and now Oyster Bay, but same congregation there. And so your 30 years, your reflection, what's been the piece that you hold on to that you've learned?
Well, I think part of what we were saying, I mean, just to kind of reiterate one piece, which is that learning from our congregation and being open to being taught, in a sense, and being a part of the community, and having that be the most important principle in terms of as opposed to upholding some sort of lofty principle. That's become the most important value for me. Just trying to hold it together, especially through this past year. Part of what's been so difficult is not seeing the people. Like I'm sure you as well, being that we're related, seeing people and being in people's presence is what we love.
Yeah, I know. We're excited. We're doing our first in-person service Friday night, honoring our high school graduates.
We are too.
And the weather looks promising, so we should be okay. We're doing it outside. That's why weather is important. But we've limited it to 100 people. So that really is mostly filled up by our high school graduates and their families.
You should just parenthetically, how many people does your sanctuary hold?
If we opened it all up, we can get up to 1,800.
Right.
So normally it's set for a usual of 450 if we are 400, let's say, before opening any of the different spaces up. So we're already talking about how can we do different stages with that too. So we're excited to be together, right? And I'm finding people beginning to hug now too, where now is comfortable, right? But you see people starting to do that or reaching out to you to do that. I'm like,
right. I know. So look, part of what we're going to be doing is, kind of helping people overcome that emotional battery, sort of that emotional kind of hesitancy in terms of doing things, and doing the basic human stuff that we took for granted is going to be now fraught with all sorts of tension. We're going to end up having, I fear, to be gatekeepers for, okay, it's okay to hug. So like I did a baby naming, and I always was actually a bris, and I was just doing the naming part, fortunately. So, but I asked the parents, I was like, is it okay if I like put my hands on the baby to do the Yivarechecha? And they said, okay. But I'm like, I'm going to have to like ask from now on. To make sure everyone was fully vaccinated, just to reassure our viewership here of our parents. And so anyway.
Yeah, that's the good news in our community too. I mean, every B'nai Mitzvah we've had so far, every bar and bat mitzvah families have all been vaccinated. Even the high school kids who are juniors and seniors are vaccinated now too, which is
that's totally changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
Totally changed everything. So look, we want to wrap up. It's a little past the 20 minute mark. I know we wanted to make sure that we would win the bet with Brian when he said it'd be under 20 minutes and we said over. So I just want to say it's always great having you on the show, and it's always great being on your show, Mike. So I am grateful again for the idea. I get to connect. I not only got to connect with you several times online, but with all of my friends from years and years ago. And so Mike and I have also planned that for this coming Sunday night, the holiday of Shavuot at 9:00, we are going to do a joint Tikkun Leil Shavuot, a joint Shavuot evening study session. We're going to make Rabbi Schwartz moderate between the two of us for that. And so it will be only on Zoom. So I hope people will join that. We'll send out an email with a Zoom link today so that everyone can join us for that study session.
There's a tradition that, so the holiday begins sundown on Sunday night. The tradition is you study all night long. We're not studying all night long. We'll talk about why that's a tradition, but it's something special in a way to be teaching and to sharing together. At Shir Shalom, we do have confirmation that night at 7:00. And then on Monday morning, we have our Yisker services at 10:30. So I won't be Monday morning musing next Monday in deference to the holiday and getting ready for services and stuff.
Of course, I won't also have a Monday morning musing. I won't have Monday musings next Monday.
But you can come to Yisker. So always nice to be together. Hey, one Shir Shalom announcement. Tuesday night, tomorrow night is a Hot Topics class. Black Lives Matter. What's Jewish about that? It's at 8:00. So make sure to register. It's a Zoom class, and Rabbi Dean will be teaching that one.
You can do a cocktail making class soon so that we can, jump on that.
Happy to do that for you. Yes.
Great. We'll do that in the evening.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good to me.
All right. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great week, everyone. Stay safe.